I've been listening. We are back to a typical Locked On Guardians show. We're going to discuss some minor leagues. We're going to talk about the Texas series. I got the Oakland game going here in the background. We'll see if the Guardians can come back and pull this off. I am Jeff Ellis. This is Locked On Guardians. It's going to be a fun one.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, so right now Zach Jackson's pitching for Oakland, and I'm going to keep hitting my head on the mic if I don't adjust myself, so if you'll pardon me. I feel like I should be hosting Locked On Buckeyes, not Locked On Guardians right now, between the shirt and the hat. Shout out to my buddy Eric. Anyone who goes to Buckeye Donuts knows Eric. But with Zach Jackson coming in, am I the only one who every time you see any Zach Jackson, including the one who writes on the Browns, you can't help but think about Zach Jackson, who pitched for the Guardians back in 2008 and 2009 for like 12 games? Oh, wow. What do you know? Exactly 12 games. Hey, I got that. Is it just me? I remember like him being a top 10 prospect for, I want to say, the Blue Jays. He was okay, so I was right too in my thought process. He was a first-round pick of the Blue Jays. So that explains that. But I thought he was, we talk about the Guardians' whole approach of being quantity over quality. And some people, that's a very glib way to put it, and it's a terrible way to put it because, like, look at this team right now. When I'm pointing over here to my big screen, which is not that big, let's be honest. But Owen Miller had a really good at bat to go to a full count. You wish he would swing at that pitch because it's going to be in the zone, but it's not something he probably could have done much with anyway, so you live with it. But you look at that. You look at what Quantrell done for this team. You look at what Josh Naylor is doing for this team. You look at all the parts and pieces from that trade that at the time, I'll go and pull the tweets. I had to defend the crap out of the Clevenger trade. And there are people I respect the heck out of who are like, you don't trade a blue chipper to get a bunch of B's and C's. Well, the thing is, we're not great at prospect evaluation. And even going back, how does this all tie together? I think we forget sometimes, like that Brewers deal. Yes, Michael Brantley was the number 2 piece. Let's not fuss around with that. But Zach Jackson was a 4th piece in that deal. The 3rd piece, Rob Bryson, had been a top 10 prospect for the Brewers. If he didn't have arm issues, he probably would have pitched in the big leagues, in my opinion. And Laporta was a fast rising, he was a top 10 overall pick. So they got a lot in that deal. And that's the thing. You can even go and look at the Cliff Lee trade, where I've talked about many times. Jason Knapp was the centerpiece. Carlos Carrasco was the secondary piece. Jason Donald, Lou Marson, buying low on guys with bad years. Outside of Knapp. Knapp was a breakout star that year. And, it started there and is gone. And, it's the same thought process that put this team together. They want at least 4 guys in a trade. They want that hope. And there's Luke Maile. We got some action going here. First and second, Zach Jackson on the mound, which got me on my diatribe. 1 out. I want to talk about some minors before I got into the Rangers series. One, we got to talk about Daniel Espino. Last played April 29th. He has thrown only 18 innings this month. Better than 16, but still. This is stretching on. And when he was supposed to be back, he wasn't. I think there's some room for some concern. Because, again, the reason why I was always lower on him is because, and I stated it on draft day, maybe it was a little, something you're not supposed to say, but I said he would get hurt. I thought he would get hurt. I thought the mechanics and just the violence in the delivery was going to lead to injury. And we discussed, maybe he's just different. Maybe he is just different and they're going to get lucky here. We'll have to see. I mean, how much I talk about that, sometimes you have to roll with the unicorn. And we talked about how, Espino is a unicorn. We talked about, who else was my second? Tristan McKenzie. And then I talked about that's why you call up Oscar Gonzalez, who, tied a record set by Roger Maris by hitting safely in 12 of his first 13 games. That's pretty good club to be with. He just keeps hitting. And again, listen, at some point, the Piper's going to come, and it's going to be ugly. Oscar Gonzalez is going to come down to earth. We see a lot of guys have great debuts or really hot starts. Go look. I always think of Ben Francisco because I remember my buddy, Andy Clayman, who used to write for Waiting for Next Year. There are some names out there you might know. I didn't do what I'm supposed to. because I talked about the game. I want to thank you for making Locked On Guardians your first listen today and every day, wherever it is you get podcasts. And then to say I am Jeff Ellis, host of Locked On Guardians, as I have been from its inception. Before that, if you know a Cleveland sports blog, I wrote on it. And after that, I wrote for Scouting 24/7 as a national prospect and draft analyst. And if you're also like, wait, Roger Maris played for Cleveland. He came up with Cleveland. He was a 23-year-old in 1957 when he hit safely in 12 of his first 13 games. He went from Cleveland to Kansas City and then Kansas City to New York. He was actually in 1959 an All-Star, and in that second year in Cleveland, he actually was struggling. Like, he had a solid debut, but he was a below-average first baseman, young. Let's not really just make it sound like it was some deal. They got and here's the thing, they traded Dick Tomasette and Preston Ward, and they got Woody Held and Vic Power. Woody Held, I will now always have a special place in my heart. If you can go back and listen to the podcast where I interviewed my father. That was his favorite baseball player growing up. And Woody Held was when I went through, the data and put together the greatest Guardians team of all time, he was in the discussion amongst first basemen. He played second baseman. He played up the middle, had 22 career WAR as mostly a second baseman, I want to say, during his career. Why can I not find the defensive rankings? Shortstop. I'm sorry, I had it wrong. It was mostly a shortstop. And again, 22 career WAR to shortstop in that era is pretty good. Being about a league average bat, that's really good. So, yeah, Roger Maris became Roger Maris. So that's not ideal. But at least this is one of those deals where they had something to show for it. And Vic Power came to Cleveland and became an all-star pretty quickly for them and was for quite a few years. So, he's someone to go reference, look up if you don't know him. Golden Glover in 59, 60, and 61, All-Star in 59 and 60. So, yeah, that's pretty good. So, yes, it's Roger Maris, but it's not, compared to many deals they made, at least they got something for this one, right? As for the other players, because I love going down the history well, Preston Ward was already an older player who was basically at the end of his career, who had kind of bounced up and down. And Dick Tomasette was, a filler type. So they didn't really, not actually for once, not a trade that really killed them. But Espino is down, has not played in a while. Let's talk about Nolan Jones, though. Finally healthy. We've been discussing how he's kind of the guy we're waiting to see as maybe a next one up type. With his injury, Oscar Gonzalez is who benefited. That's who got to jump up when we were down. Nolan Jones goes 0 for 5 in his debut and then goes promptly 3 for 3 last night with a pair of walks. Reached base all 5 times. Great sign. Good to see him doing that. Awesome. Have to point out Joey Cantillo took a no-hitter into the 6th. Cantillo is balling. He ends up losing that one 2-1 because they do get 2 runs off of him in the 6th. If you notice confused face for a second, I misread it as their record was the score, and I got really confused. But Cantillo again, they got to protect him. He's playing his way into unbelievable. There's no way you can not protect him with the way he's playing right now. I just don't see a way that happens. We got a pitching change. Stephen Kwan is up. We are going to take our first break here on the podcast, and then we will come back, continue talking about this game, talk about the Rangers series, and if the Athletics game finishes up, we will then get into this one as well. And our sponsor today is LinkedIn. You know him. I use him. I'm sure you do too. As the sun comes out and small businesses are back in business, LinkedIn Jobs makes it easier to grow your team. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the people you want to interview faster and for free. Create a job post in minutes on LinkedIn Jobs to reach your network and beyond to the world's largest professional network of over 810 million people. Then add your job and the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring so your network can help you find the right people. That's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find candidates you want to talk to faster. Did you know every week nearly 40 million job seekers visit LinkedIn? Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnMLB. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnMLB to post your job for free. Terms and conditions do apply. Did you notice the eyes in the ad read where it's they tied it? Tie score. Stephen Kwan with a 3-hit game now. right up the middle. Before I get into the Rangers series, if we talk about this game, I'm still kind of pissed off. I agree with Tito getting thrown. That was some BS. Yes, Elvis Andrus couldn't help but fall on him. Elvis Andrus then chose to stay on him, and a nice hesitation there. And I mean, Straw is so good on the base paths. A lot of guys get thrown out in that situation at third right there. A lot of guys get thrown out at third. Hesitates, which might seem foolish, but then has the body adjustment to miss the tag. To dodge his body out of the way. We had a tie game. We already had the first time all year back-to-back home runs with Jose Ramirez and Josh Naylor. But yeah, Tito got thrown out. Elvis Andrus stopped Stephen Kwan from being able to advance. Stephen Kwan should be able to get out and get up, and Andrus clearly just laid on top of him. There was no attempt or anything it seemed like he was even attempting to block his way. So that was some BS right there. I agree with Tito getting tossed. I thought that was a situation where I see, but man, what a nice day for Kwan. Coming through in a big-time situation for this team right now. I tie it up against Oakland as we're going through. Like I said, he's got 3 hits, and so does Oscar Gonzalez. Again, I don't want to, anyone to think I'm a hater when it comes to Gonzalez. Eventually, the league's going to just start throwing things a mile outside and see what he does. League adapts. But again, I was calling for him, the day before he got called up? Do you remember that speech on here about sometimes you just got to give players who perform an opportunity? And it shouldn't work. But it shouldn't have worked at AA, it shouldn't have worked at AAA, and it worked at every level. So do I think he's going to continue hitting like a future batting champion? Probably not. Do I think he's going to hit 30 home runs because he hit 30 home runs in Columbus? No, because Columbus is a terrible ballpark that it just has bad lines for home runs. It's great for home runs, but it's bad for pitching, makes it easier. Do I think he could potentially be like a guy who hits 300 with 20 bombs? Oh, yeah. Yeah, I do. Potentially, yes. Could he potentially turn into a complete pumpkin? Yeah. He is super interesting because I don't know what the outcome is. Anyone who tells you they know what Oscar Gonzalez is going to do is a liar. We're all just sitting there going it shouldn't work, but it does. And there are those guys who can get away with it. And he is a great athlete for his size, and that helps. But just, man, enjoy the ride right now. So I just want to state that. We're now sitting here with this game going on, tied, bases loaded, 2 outs, 2-2 on Naylor. Oof, not what you want to see. Strikeout. Swung right over the top of that one, it looked like. He went deep today. I'm not going to say anything negative. Not what you want in that situation, but this is the best team in baseball in terms of batting average with 2 outs. 297 was the stat I heard earlier in the game. I'm not going to, it comes, it goes. It's not always there, but I'm not going to complain. This team has been down multiple times and keeps coming back. It's just the unfortunateness. I know I said we were going to talk about the Rangers game. Pilkington was wild tonight. The 4 walks with the 4 hits. They've got 4 runs on 5 hits. That means they got on base a lot. Because Pilkington not only had the 4 walks, he also hit a batter. And if we go back and just talk about the 6th inning, where it was a tie game before he had 2-2 at that point, and it starts with 2 outs. Then it's a single, then a double. And then you have the injury delay. And then Shaw comes in, and Shaw gives up the double. Then it gets the ground out to get out of it. Henches, I'm glad we got to see him. He was spectacular, as he has been consistently. It looks like he's going to come out here and continue pitching. But yeah, it's what I just wish we'd see more of him. I still don't understand why we don't see him a lot. Let's pivot. We'll see if we can get another walk-off win here. See if I can bring some good luck to the Cleveland Guardians. Let's talk about these games. Let's talk about, does anyone else feel like this is the most weather issues we have ever had in a baseball season? Not to get political or anything, but this Guardian season feels like the best case for climate change I have ever seen. Because, my goodness, the sheer amount of... It feels like we've had more rainouts so far this year than we had in, the last 2 years combined. I know it's Cleveland. I know weather comes and goes. I know there is a lot of issues with weather and rainouts and bad weather in the early part of the season, but this, even for Cleveland standards, feels horrendous. So let's get into them. Let's talk about game one of the Texas series. Like I said, I promised I'd get to. I was kind of shocked to see Steele Walker homer in that one, but Marcus Semien started putting on a show, and he dominated that doubleheader. Quantrill pitched pretty well. I mean, he is what he is at this point, but you'll take any time someone can go 7 innings, 3 earned runs, 8 hits, 1 walk, only had 3 strikeouts, and 2 home runs. Long ball is there. Clase picks up his 10th save. Eli Morgan, can we just say it on here? I mean, if you are a longtime listener of the show, go hit me up on Twitter at JeffMLBDraft. How many times do you think I talked about they should fast track Eli Morgan, put him in the pen, and just let him go? That his stuff will probably play up, and the changeup is the best secondary offering in the system. Put him in the bullpen, let it go. Now, there is a case to make him a starter. I don't know if he'll keep his velocity as a starter. I think part of it is he just gets to go out and throw for 2 innings, and he is exceptional in that role too. Like, if you take him out, how are you going to... Yes, 5 innings is more valuable than 1. But the way they are using him is in that... Man, I'm blanking on, it was like not Devereaux. I can't remember, Davinsky. You know, it's like when Houston had that multi-inning reliever who they'd go to multiple times a week. And if you're going and getting like 5 innings a week from Eli Morgan as a reliever, then it is kind of a similar value. And you're using him in high leverage situations almost entirely. And I don't have an issue with that. Like, I look at it as a situation where his value is based in... He's, high leverage they can go to and they can count on in these situations. And, he got the hold in this game, but he'll come up a lot. So in that win, who reached base twice? Well, Rosario had 3 hits. I know. I can be honest. He'll be one of the stars. Oscar Gonzalez had 2. You also had 2 walks for Jose. You had a hit and a walk for Straw. You had a hit and a walk for Naylor. You had a hit and a walk for Andres Jimenez. It was a good offensive outing, and they also stole a ton of bases. 2 by Rosario. Mercado got 1. 2 by Straw. 1 by Jose Ramirez. They knew, like, Sam Huff is an offensive catcher. They knew it, and they ran on him all day. Jose Ramirez was also intentionally walked, and Jimenez also got beaned, so you add those in to the 5 walks. That's like 7 walks, essentially, with their 9 hits. Gives them 16 opportunities, plus Texas had 2 errors. That is 18 opportunities. Divide by 3, you get 6, which is what they got. On the other side of things, Texas had 8 hits. The 1 error by Cleveland gives them 9 opportunities, and the 1 walk gives them 10 opportunities. Getting 3 on 10, that's about average. That's a game Cleveland deserved to win. Quantrill went 7, gave up 3 runs. He gets a star. We talked about Rosario had 3 hits and 2 stolen bases. He is one of the stars in this one. And then just, looking over at your overall data, I'm going to give it to Oscar Gonzalez because he had 2 hits. Yeah, there are other guys who reach base more times, but both extra base hits in this one. Guardians pick up the win against Texas. Yeah, this Texas team is interesting, and I got some blowback. Bryce is a great dude. Like, we talked about, recommending someone else in the network. Go check out Bryce on Locked On Rangers. He's one of my favorite people in the network. Just end of story, one of my favorite people in the network. So go check out him. He does great work. He's one of the grizzled vets with me who's been there since the beginning. I like teasing him, but, like, look at this team. It's like Marcus Semien's starting to get together. Seager's going to figure it out. Listen, Adolphus Garcia, what we discussed last year, he is going to be a streaky guy. He's probably best as, like, a bottom-of-the-lineup guy. Cole Calhoun, he's nearing the end of a solid career. They've got some spots to figure out, but this is a team that should be better than their record shows. Let's put it that way. The second game was the frustrating one for me because this is a game that could have easily been won. Shane McCarthy, the lefty, I have liked. McCarthy is a great organizational soldier who has, worked very hard. Asking him to go through a lineup twice was a foolhardy error. And having him, he gave up 5 runs. You call in a close game, bring in Anthony Gose. You continue to have the lineup being as imbalanced as it is. This was a winnable game. There was a lot of issues in that game, but it was a very winnable game that they didn't win. They lost it 6-3. Who reached base twice in that game? Well, it's a little bit harder to come to those. You had Mercado who pinch hit. No, Mercado started. He didn't pinch hit. He had 2 hits. And I think that, unless there was an intentional walk or a hit batter, I think that's it. Yeah. We didn't have anyone else reaching base twice, which is also part of the problem in general. Cleveland had 5 hits. Texas had 1 error, so that's 6 opportunities, and the 4 walks. That's 3 runs and 10 opportunities is pretty typical. Texas had 12 hits. 12 hits. They also had 5 walks. That's 17 opportunities. And the error by Cleveland is 18. 18 divided by 3, 6. Hey, what do you know? Both these games, it equaled out. Texas also managed to have what? They should have had a higher score because they had 4 home runs. And they had all those hits. Cleveland was just constantly working from behind. I mean, it was a rough game for, Trevor Stephan continues to, he didn't give up a run, but, a hit and 2 walks is not great. Sam Shaw hit and 2 walks. Anthony Ghost had his issues. Hench is the only one who had a clean inning. Sandlin came in and had a hit given up. It was actually one of Sandlin's better performances. But this was, a bad luck situation. It's who are your 3 stars? Well, Mercado, congratulations. You got pinch hit for, but multi-hit, that gets you up there. And you had the only extra base hit. Oh, and then, I forgot, Ernie Clement's throwing error because for whatever reason, you're not having Jimenez play against a lefty. And Taylor Hearn's got some good stuff, but he's not a star lefty by any means. So let's not play our second best hitter because there's a lefty on the mound. That platoon that shouldn't happen. It just should not happen. Who else? Who else was good enough? Who else did anything? I'm going to give one to Hench's because, 1 inning, 2 strikeouts. It was the cleanest inning of all of anyone who kind of came out and did anything. And there's just not a lot to go on in this one. I mean, I guess Oscar Gonzalez, congratulations. I don't love RBIs as a stat, but you got 2 of them. So, hey, you did something when there was a runners on. But, yeah, that second game, that was not necessarily the heartbreaker. It was the annoyance. And then the final game, the sweep, this one was annoying. So Shane Bieber becomes tied for the second fastest to 700 strikeouts with Doc Gooden and Tim Lincecum. The fastest to 700 strikeouts, I didn't expect to be Yu Darvish, but that's who it is. And he, sets a Guardians record getting there, beating Sam McDowell. And he was spectacular. And again, the last 2 starts. And Texas, again, this is a good team. This was a very encouraging one after him beating up on some bad teams. His velocity isn't back. He's just hitting his spots and pitching well and using the secondary offerings. And he has looked really good. And if not for rain, who knows? He entered that 5th and, he ends up going 4 1/3. There was only 1 hit. He was firing. He wanted to get through 5 before the rain came. And he gave up 2 hits. And some of that was just because, he was trying to power through. He wanted to get those 5 innings in. Long rain delay. Eli Morgan then goes 1 2/3 of an inning. Perfect. Doesn't give up a hit or walk. Just the 3 hits by Bieber. De Los Santos, who's currently in the game. Oh, that's unfortunate. That's going to be a double with Oscar Gonzalez crashing into the wall trying to make that play. Hopefully he is okay. That was a bit of a limp. Okay, Cleveland. He is shaken up. We'll take our commercial break here so I can cry silently. I'll come back and discuss Oscar Gonzalez and after a nice sob and some words from our kind sponsors. Athletic Greens. I've talked about this many times. It is a product I used literally every day until I ran out. I started taking AG1 because they sent it to me. Let's be honest. I try things when it gets sent to me, but why did I keep using AG1? Because I enjoyed it. It gives you extra vitamins and minerals. Did the crossover with Lindsay. Lindsay was offering to buy other people's. He's like, I'll pay for you to ship me yours if you don't want it. That's, how much people are liking AG1. It has 75 high-quality vitamins and minerals, whole food-sourced superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens. I quite enjoyed my time with it. It was created when the founder experienced a ton of gut health issues and ended up with a complicated supplement routine to recover. It cost him $100 a day. He created Athletic Greens to make a cheaper optimal nutritional route. Those are hard words to say. On his own and for others. And by the way, it's a climate neutral company, and for every purchase, they donate to organizations helping get nutritious food to kids in need, including No Kid Hungry here in the U.S. And to make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packets with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/MLB Network. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/MLB Network to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. Our other fantastic sponsor is BetOnline. BetOnline has been sending me information about the College World Series odds, and I wanted to talk about that today because the College World Series, how can I put this nicely? It's kind of a way to cheat, because what you need to pay attention to when you look at these rankings is the teams that also have managers who are going to put winning in front of player health. This isn't like other sports. There are managers, like Louisville is not going to sit there and ruin a pitcher's career just to get an extra win. They have a very responsible staff. So you kind of want to go through and look. Like Tennessee is the odds-on favorite. Tennessee might also have 3 first-round picks. Stanford, Oregon State, Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech is kind of a surprise. It's not one you expect to see. It isn't. Connecticut at 50-1. I mean, Connecticut's a shock. Their number 1 draft-eligible prospect missed the entire year. It is a fun time to be a college baseball fan. Go check it out. And for all of your betting information, BetOnline is your number 1 source. BetOnline, where the games start. They focused on that elbow a lot when he crashed in. He is still in the game. Runner on second, 2 outs, and see if Eniel can take care of this one. But to go back to the series clinching win, you look at what they're doing here. I still don't love Rosario at shortstop. I still don't love Jimenez being wasted second base. But a 2-hit game by Jose, a 2-hit game by Naylor, a 2-hit game by Jimenez. They had 0 walks. So it's those are your guys. A 2-hit game by Stephen Kwan. It's last 2 games, Kwan's up to 5 hits now. He's gonna be streaky, but now is the time to be happy and enjoy the streak. Oh, come on, that gives him third base. Extra base hits, by the way, both of Jimenez's were doubles. He had 2 extra base hits, 2 doubles. Kwan stole a base. Jose stole a base. This time off of Jonah Heim, who is again, they have 3 interesting catchers in Huff, Heim, and Garver, all offensive first types. But like I said, the story here is the bullpen. The story here is Shane Bieber, then Eli Morgan, and again, I got the receipts. I can sit here and wave these to the end of time. My joke on Twitter was like, I did call this. I talked about Eli Morgan and him being able to be an ace reliever since the moment he was drafted. I was like, okay, with that change, put him in the pen, fast track him, put him in you'll find me in here in 2019, if you go back and listen to the podcast, discussing what Eli Morgan is doing in the minors and how, there's some home run proneness and this or that. Just put him in the pen and fast track him. This team needs pen help. This can happen. He's just been spectacular. But that's why the pen is a strength, right? Yeah, Trevor Stephan hasn't been quite as strong, but he's still steady. Come on. Oof. Owen Miller has had some shaky throws across the diamond. Let's be honest with that. Or I'm sorry, that was Clement this time. That was Naylor has really had to do some leaning and picking, and I mean, almost surprised that didn't get just a challenge to see if he was pulled off the bag. But yeah, man, you can miss Jose when he's not out there. I know they're trying to rest him up to keep his effectiveness through the year, but man, we really don't have anyone who handles that position all that well outside of him. Getting back to it though, it's like Bieber, fantastic, and again, it's nice to see him doing that against a solid lineup. Morgan. I never completed my thought because I got distracted by that call. My joke was like, I did call that, but don't look at the Cord Phelps takes. Like, those can stay hidden forever. I really liked Cord Phelps back in the day. I should go look at his stats and see, like, with what I know nowadays, if I would still be high on him or not. If that was just because that was the early days of me and a lot of statistical knowledge that I have now, I didn't have any of that then. Like, I feel like if I probably went back and looked, I'd be like, oh man, yeah, you need to get beyond the Triple Crown stats, Ellis. But this win put the Guardians back to 500. Taking 2 out of 3. And then Oakland is not a good team. They should beat Oakland. This should be they've got 4 games here. If they don't win 3 of them, I'm going to be disappointed. This is a chance to really kind of get close to the Twins. and to try to put yourself in a place for potentially that second wild card. And I'm not saying that they're going to do the whole year, but the thing with Cleveland is it's the youngest team in baseball for the second year in a row, and the young players are just starting to get called up. A healthy Nolan Jones is just around the corner. And okay, let's say that Gonzalez and Kwan lock up those corner outfield spots. You got Straw in the middle. Eventually get Franmil back at DH. Figure out what's going to happen. Make sure you got Jimenez and Miller playing every day. Great. You can start platooning guys. Like Nolan Jones can platoon with someone. If you call him up, if he is ready to go, you don't want him facing lefties, but he against righties, like you can figure out a good platoon partner for him. You can make this work for this team. And you can also just the depth and the guys that are going to keep coming in waves. I think you should be bullish on this team for their second half because they're finally using the youth and they just keep coming. Now we'll have to see what happens in this game. Oscar Gonzalez is now up to bat. Should we just discuss? I guess I didn't give my 3 stars for the win. I also didn't. Cleveland had 12 hits in that one, and they ended up with 4 runs. So that's, again, the divide by 3 principle. That works. There was no walks. I don't know if I've ever had a game I can recall with 0 walks on either side. 6 hits for Texas, 0 runs on that. That is unusual. So that was a low amount. 3 stars. Bieber, Andres Jimenez with the 2 extra base hits. And then I'm going to give it to Morgan coming in after that rain delay with runners on and taking care of it. So today's game, getting into how this has gone. We already talked about the home runs. We talked about the bad calls. Who has reached base multiple times? Well, like I said, Kwan's got 3 hits. Oscar Gonzalez has 3 hits. Jose Ramirez has a hit and a walk. And I think that's all we got in terms of this. Just doing the whole box score bingo for this game as it's going on. Cleveland has 9 hits and 2 walks. So that is 11 base runners. 4 runs is, it's close to that divide by 12. They're right in line there. Now they also had a pair of home runs, which also does make that score tend to be a little higher. The other side of things, Oakland has 6 hits and 4 walks, so that's 10 opportunities. So they're a little bit better as well. The surprising thing is, they've just had the 1 home run, though Betancourt also had a double, which was what happened there against Enyel, so it didn't actually hurt them, but it came close to being an issue. Not Pilkington's best start, but this is still a game they are in line to possibly win. Right now, based on what's happening, Kwan and Gonzalez are likely 2 of your 3 stars. And then between Naylor and Jose, we'll see. Right now you lean towards Jose because he had the walk as well as the home run. For Jose, let's see, we're already up to 15 home runs on the year. He is probably not getting enough run because people are still kind of sleeping on the Guardians to a degree. If we talk about, I'm going to pause this so I can pull up wildcard standings because no one wants to watch me sit back and Google search. Cleveland, by the way, 1.5 back in the wild card behind Tampa and then Toronto. So again, making ground, and people want to sleep on Jose, who's clearly been the top batter in baseball because they want to focus on the contenders. Cleveland, they're not necessarily a big name, but they're a team on the rise. Let's be honest with that right now. Speaking of teams on the rise, Oscar Gonzalez with hit number 4. I don't like pinch running for him. He's 93rd percentile in sprint speed, according to Baseball Savant. If I go to Oscar Mercado Baseball Savant, I'm like, is he actually faster? Like, why go and make this move? I'm not sure. I also thinking defensive replacement, but I think Mercado is not as fast as Gonzalez. It's just kind of this thinking that, 85 versus 93rd percentile. They got slower with their pinch running. Sometimes I don't, because the perception is Gonzalez is big and he's lanky, but he's a really good athlete. Percent feel is Mercado. This isn't a Mikado. This isn't an opera. It's baseball. Mercado was a former center fielder, so of course he's faster. No, this is bad logic. Not a great move. Well, we'll see what can happen here. Can Jimenez give them the leg up? And yes, that should get a run across. Andres should play every day. Every day, Andres. Every day, Andres. Doesn't sound as good as everyday Andre. I know. I can't think of a way to do anything with Jimenez. But every day, Andres. Let's get that going. Let's hashtag it. I don't know. Do people even hashtag things anymore? This is what this guy has done all year. Like it should be easier to. The pressure is more on the pitcher and the hitter when there's runners on. Should be, and he has just excelled in this. We'll see if they pull it out. We'll see if they win it. I'm already at 35 minutes, so I should call it a show. Make sure to download daily, like and review, tell a friend. We've been slipping on those download daily ones. I think the numbers are actually good. I don't know what's going on with the chartable stuff. I don't know if maybe baseball is actually just surging a bit right now, and that's making it harder for us to climb. But do your part. Daily downloads help. Getting anyone else who you might think would enjoy it to listen. Subscribe on the YouTube is a very simple thing you can do as well. We're getting like one person a day. That's great, but that means it's going to take me about 3 years to hit the minimum for monetization. Don't bunt Ernie Clement with no outs. No bunts. If I can give you any piece of advice in life as I end this show, no bunts, and go Guardians go.